Greetings world. We are Anonymous. For the last 2 months, we have been consistently reporting on a possible global conflict, World War III, between the United States and its allies in the West, and Russia and its allies in the East. The dispute on the South China Sea has severely damaged the United States' relations with the People's Republic of China, after the Permanent Court of Arbitration in The Hague ruled that China's 9-line claim in the South China Sea and its land reclamation activities on islets are invalid and unlawful. The United States has been preparing to sail in the area under a so-called freedom of navigation principle. This has angered the Chinese. In August, the Chinese Defense Minister, Chang Wanquan, told his country's citizens to prepare for what he described as the People's War at Sea. Mr. Wanquan was referring directly to the United States' planned provocation under the pretext of freedom of navigation. China has since vowed to take all necessary measures available to protect its sovereignty over the South China Sea, revealing that it had the right to set up an air defense zone on the sea. China has also since been positioning and testing its nuclear weapons, and planning military drills on its waters with Russia. Even the United States has confirmed that China has tested an intercontinental ballistic missile, which is capable of striking everywhere in the world within half an hour. Moving away from the South China Sea, we arrive in Syria. It is an open secret that the civil war in Syria is a proxy war between the United States and Russia. Russia has even intervened physically on the request of the Syrian government. The United States, unable to get any invitation, has been openly and secretly arming many rebel groups in the country, with open plans to overthrow the Syrian government. Of course, since Russia honored the invitation of the Syrian government last year, the war has been turning in favor of the Syrian government, which was falling before Russia's intervention. As we speak now, tension is mounting between the United States and Russia. Nerves are at their highest since the Cold War era. The United States, at the moment, is sitting on tenterhooks. Many officials in the President Obama administration are frustrated and confused regarding the situation in Syria. The United States has announced that it has ended all contacts with Russia in Syria. This announcement by the United States comes as Russia, beginning on September 22, intensified its military operations in Syria, with the intentions to capture the city of Aleppo for the Syrian government. Diplomatic efforts to put an end to the fighting in Syria have collapsed. As the Aleppo operation continues, Russia has given the United States a stern warning not to take any action against the Syrian government forces. In fact, there are many Russian jet fighters stationed in Syria, ready to shoot down any United States jet fighter that attempts to strike on the Syrian government forces. These developments from Moscow are not going down easily with the United States. The United States Secretary of State, John Kerry, is said to have urged President Obama to intervene and face the consequences from Russia. He is said to have even favored a nuclear deterrent against Russia. However, it appears that before Kerry could even make this suggestion to President Obama, the Russians had already gathered intelligence on the happenings within the White House. According to ZVEZDA, a Russian Defense Ministry television channel, the country has started preparing its citizens for a possible nuclear war with the United States because of the mounting tensions in Syria. Russia has since moved to deploy nuclear-capable Iskander missiles in its westernmost region, Kaliningrad, which borders on NATO members of Poland and Lithuania. Due to how the situation has become, some top officials at the United States Defense Headquarters have finally spoken. These Pentagon officials have admitted that World War III is imminent, and that it's going to be deadly and fast. The military generals were speaking on a Future of the Army panel in Washington. A conventional conflict in the near future will be extremely lethal and fast, and we will not own the stopwatch, Major General William Hicks said. General Hicks also stated that China and Russia's armies are becoming increasingly technological, and that the Pentagon was getting ready for violence on the scale that the United States Army has not seen since Korea. His comments were also echoed by Lieutenant Gen. Joseph Anderson and Chief of Staff, Gen. Mark A. Milley, who described war between nation-states as almost guaranteed. The generals also said apart from the conventional battle, Cyber Battle 2 has become a reality against the United States, revealing that even smaller nations are launching it against the country. We are anonymous. We are legion. We do not forgive. We do not forget. Expect us.
And one last point, which is this, that it's now Hillary Clinton who wants to start an air war with Russia over Syria by calling for a no-fly zone. We have 2,000 nuclear missiles on hair-trigger alert, and Mikhail Gorbachev, the former premier of the Soviet Union, is saying we are closer to a nuclear war than we have ever been. Under Hillary Clinton, we could slide into nuclear war very quickly from her declared policy in Syria. So I sure won't sleep well at night if Hillary Clinton is elected.
NATO and EU ships have flocked to the British coast where a Russian fleet is passing on its way to the Mediterranean. It's in international waters, but it's got the alliance on alert. Laura Smith's got the story.
This flotilla of 8 ships headed by the Admiral Kuznetsov has headed down the eastern coast of the UK and, of course, into the English Channel, into the Dover Straits. The Norwegian Air Force filmed them when they were off the Shetland Islands. Those are some pretty great pictures. And then locals and media gathered to watch them in Dover. And, of course, they could see them off the coast because it's just 21 miles wide, that stretch of water. That was earlier on Friday. And, of course, they're being watched very closely by ships from the navies of a number of different countries. There's the UK's HMS Duncan, of course, which has been man-marking the flotilla, according to the Defence Secretary. The Norwegians, the Finnish, they all have ships in the area that are watching the progress of these destroyers, and several NATO vessels and planes as well.
Extraordinary display of Russian military power just a few miles off the British coast. One Moscow newspaper called it an armada, and its chosen route straight down the English Channel is likely to have been chosen deliberately. The warships could have gone round the north coast of Scotland, but this was the route that sent a powerful message, one which a former Royal Navy admiral said was a wake-up call.
Since the end of the Cold War, we've allowed our capabilities to decline, and I also think our skills have declined as well. We need to get back into the game of actually countering the Russians whenever they seek to coerce either European nations or project power like they have done with this task group. The task group will be reinforcing what's already a big Russian presence in Syria. Today, the EU, blocked by Italy, stopped short of threatening sanctions against Russia for what it called atrocities like the bombing of civilians in Aleppo, while Moscow's ambassador to Brussels denied that this was all a massive demonstration of hard power.
What about the option of controlling the airspace so that barrel bombs cannot be dropped?
All the options.
What do you think of that option, sir?
Right now, Senator, for us to control all of the airspace in Syria would require us to go to war against Syria and Russia. That's a pretty fundamental decision that certainly I'm not going to make.
И люди не чувствуют опасности. Вот меня что беспокоит. Ну как мы не можем понять? Мы тащим мир вообще в совершенно новое измерение. Вот в чем проблема. Делают вид, что как будто ничего не происходит. Но я не знаю даже, как достучаться.
We're flying over Estonia now, but just over to the east, to the right, is Russia.
We have to be ready. We should not be afraid.
Ready for?
Ready for opportunistic behavior of Putin's Russia.
These US Marines are about to perform their first ever amphibious landing from the Black Sea onto the Ukrainian coastline.
15 amphibious assault vehicles packed with both US and Ukrainian Marines secured a beach south of the port city of Odessa before heading inland as part of the annual multinational naval exercise Sea Breeze.
This year the US Navy deployed 2 ships, the USS Ross, a guided missile destroyer, and this ship, the USS Whidbey Island, which which acted as a launching pad for the amphibious operation.
The Black Sea is bounded by 6 countries linking southeastern Europe and western Asia. Since the Russian annexation of Crimea in 2014, the security situation here has been very tense at times.
Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko has instructed all military units near Crimea and in the eastern Donbass region to be at their highest level of combat readiness.
We need to be ready. We should not be afraid.
Ready for?
Ready for opportunistic behavior of Putin's Russia.